Welcome to the Health Fix podcast, where health junkies get their weekly fix of tips, tools, and techniques to have limitless energy, sharp minds, and fit physiques for life. Hey Health Junkies, on this episode of the Health Fix podcast, I'm interviewing Mark, aka Mr. Newts Effinger from Nootopia. And wow, this whole process, these guys sent me the Brilliant Mind blueprint, which included a box full of goodies that, like, check this box out if you're seeing this video wise. There are all kinds of things in here, including like a fun juice that you can spray under your tongue. Now, with all these goodies, the idea with the Brilliant Mind blueprint was to spend 30 days creating what my own formula for helping me to have a brilliant mind. And so they run you through multiple different things each day to see what works best for you. Pretty cool. Now, as of this recording, I'm on day 23 and I'm feeling pretty dang good. I know what works. I know what maybe isn't the best for me, but boy, am I impressed. Now, same thing here. These guys are also, so Nootopia is owned by Optimizers, and they have the magnesium breakthrough that I talked about earlier in my mid-segment break. Man, you know, they've got some good stuff here, and I can really tell the difference. The magnesium breakthrough, this guy, I mean, I've been using it for a while. There's one capsule left. I love this stuff to help me sleep. Now, there are a lot of magnesium products on the market, and so I do encourage folks to figure out what works best for you, but the magnesium breakthrough has helped me to really get good quality sleep. And I can tell using my watch, looking at my heart rate variability, my recovery scores, my Aura Ring 2 would tell me like when I was getting that magnesium dialed in. But nevertheless, Mark and I are going to talk all about Nootopia and nootropics and brain stimulation and all of that here in this podcast. And I highly recommend that if you are struggling at all with concentration, focus, lack of motivation, just needing to be on point, this is what you want to listen to. And also, the other big thing is calm. And kind of just that sense of feeling kind of happy just overall, because sometimes with perimenopause, we'll get that like ho-hum kind of meh to the day kind of thing. And really, the Brilliant Mind blueprint has really got my brain feeling a heck of a lot better. So I'm excited for you guys to listen to this podcast. It's an exciting one. Mark and I have a great time. So let's jump into the podcast. Hey, Health Junkies. Welcome to another episode of The Health Fix. I'm your host, Dr. Janine Krause. And on today's episode of The Health Fix podcast, we're going to geek out in like my zone here. This is the best thing ever. And you can see Mark Effinger in the background, AKA Mr. Newts, is like making me geek out right now because I can see behind him. He has a whole lab of mad scientist stuff, which I need that. I need that. So let me give you a little background here. It's been 9 days and I've been working on his Nootopia products here and creating my Brilliant Mind blueprint based off of their basic program, 30 days. And we're going to be talking about that, but I am already on fire with it. And to the point where a couple of my friends have been like, what are you doing? So we're going to talk all about that and more. So there's the box right there. Yep, Nootopia got it there. See, I can rep too. We both. I got my gear because we're just gonna go off of it. So, folks, welcome, Mr. Newts, to the Health Fix podcast.
Thank you so much, Janine. This is awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time for us.
Oh man, I can't wait to give folks all of the opportunity. I mean, like just unleash all the opportunity that they have to optimize their brain, because so many folks come into me and they're like, Doc, I can't think anymore. And I can't concentrate. I probably have ADD. And I'm like, I don't know if we need to go that route. Maybe we just need to optimize a few things. Then I've got the other spectrum of maybe it's my testosterone, maybe it's my hormones, which I'm like, yeah, we can work with that too. But I find that the great mix between the two seems to just blow things up for folks.
Oh, agreed. I was hypothyroid back I was diagnosed finally in 1993, and I went from being nearly suicidal and just completely losing it. In fact, I was working at that time. I had an advertising agency and 2 technology companies.
Wow.
So I would spin up a technology company. I would hire a CEO to run it, and then I would go become the advertising engine for that because I loved the creativity and the innovation, and it was just fun, right? Doing cool ads is fun.
Yeah.
So I walk into my wife's office. Her office was next to mine. I said, honey, I have been working on this project, this client, for about 3 hours now, but I'm kind of in a daze. I don't know what client it is. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't even know what day it is. And I think I'm losing my mind. And that was just hypothyroidism. I mean, she took me by the hand, walked me around the block and said, look, you'll be okay. You're really good at starting these things and you're good at getting, selling the companies, just that stuff in the middle, that detail stuff overwhelms you. So, and I did, and it was great. But the big miracle was going to a bed and breakfast run by an ND, an ND-MD. And nice. And he just a sweet guy who was in super shape, competitive downhill skier, a Doctors Without Borders doctor. So, and he just said, man, he goes, your hand's a little clammy for an April. Your eyes are a little bloodshot for a guy that doesn't drink or drink much. Why don't you come in and have a glass of wine with me and a bunch of people from all over the world and eat some organic turkey, and let's go see what we can do. And he just took my base metabolic rate. He took my temperature in the morning. Yeah. Right. For 4 days and said, hey man, you're about 3.5 degrees below what you should be, first thing in the morning. So let's fix that. And got me on the gold standard at the time, Armour Thyroid. And, at the time, it's been through many iterations now and I wouldn't touch it, but at the time it was good. And it was amazing. The transformation from having to take a nap every day, never getting out of the morning fog. You know what I mean? Like it lasted all day, never being motivated. And then also that anybody that's ever had depression will know this one, where even on the best day, I was always waiting for the other shoe to drop, for some crappy thing to happen that was going to set me into a downward spiral and, jack my adrenals out and get rid of my serotonin because I'm trying to protect myself. And suddenly I was indomitable. And that was like the big aha. Holy crap. You can actually modulate and optimize your neurology and physiology, and you can literally be whatever you want to be. And it sounds cheeseball. It sounds like something written in a kid's book, but it's absolutely true. You can program yourself for whatever performance requirement you need.
I think a lot of people have heard that over and over again, but really, you have to get results, right? You have to have something that gets results to feel that. And I will be honest that, I've tried a lot of other nootropics over the years and played with all kinds of peptides and all kinds of different things to see what would really boost me, what would really get me feeling good. And then I've done different things with patients because I was like, oh, that worked for me, might work for you. But then there's this whole process where what really drew me to Nootopia was that, oh, wait a minute. Because nootropics are so individualized, this can help folks to find the right pathway without spending tons of money and tons of time. And so I was like, wow, okay, no brainer, sign me up. So, I can see where you went from the hypothyroid situation to being like, okay, I can finally think again. I'm not fumbling for my words. I'm not in this fog.
It was so great. It actually led to about 6 months after I started on thyroid. And so the need for a nap went away. Nice. And I used to have acetylcholine sparks in my brain when I would take a power nap every day on my back with my feet elevated. And I would try to limit it to an hour. And, I'm not understanding much about sleep, psychology back then, but and then I would get these sparks in my brain, right. Because I was so out of balance, neurologically. And, 6 months later, I flew to New York and negotiated a venture capital deal, and it was a very tense room in Manhattan. Wow. So you had some the venture capitalists, which are money people that invest in startup companies. You had movie theater owners, who are people that own huge numbers of movie theaters all over the United States. And then you had these two really smart technology guys in the laser industry, doing laser display industry, and they wanted to do laser display advertising on movie screens. And I had just exited my company that was doing that technology. So they called me up and said, hey, could you help us with this? And I walk into the room. And if you've ever been in a room where kind of like an intervention, except everybody hates each other.
Awkward.
Right?
Yeah.
So you stroll in and it was just tense. And they were, nobody was happy. And I could read the room with my, not like a Marvel character, but kind of, where you kind of like, you could read exactly what everybody was saying. I just spun around. I grabbed a whiteboard marker. I spun around and I got on the whiteboard. I didn't know what I was going to write or anything. But within 15 minutes, I had everybody laughing. And within another half hour, we were basically outlining the term sheet details for the investment. Mm-hmm. And it was the aha moment for me was, I'm back, baby. And I'm better than back. I'm better than I've ever been. And this is a new high water mark. And I don't ever want to be below this. Yeah. So how do I build, you know what a server farm, or you know what a server farm is like in a large corporation, you might have a bunch of servers running the internet stuff, running all of the internal IT infrastructure.
Yes.
One of the first things you build in that, right? If you're in Silicon Valley and you're building a Google, the first thing you do before you even put a server in is you put a backup power supply that's going to power it if the power grid goes down, and a cooling system, air conditioning system to make sure it never overheats. So those are fault tolerant technology infrastructure stuff. I'm a geek. So I adapted that and said, how could I make a fault tolerant physiology? Like, what would the things be, right? What would the components be so that I could be indomitable at whatever the thing is, whatever my genius was that made me valuable to the people that I worked with? And then it's, what are the things, what are the pieces? Just like you were talking about. You were talking about trying different nootropics, trying different nutrition, trying different workout styles, right? I'm right now, I'm kind of obsessed with the knees over toes guy. I think maybe because he made Rogan or something. And so, trying to figure out, okay, what's that all about? And a couple of, a year ago, I was, digging deep into David Goggins and trying to see, okay, do I wake up at 4 a.m.? Does that work for me? Do I run till my legs are broken? What works? We actually share a little common story there, but I think it's really valuable to grab those avatars that are already performing at those super levels and go, okay, you got to cherry pick them because I'm not him. I didn't grow up with his background. I don't have his DNA. Right. You're not going to be that. You can't be that person. But what you can do is you can steal from them the best of their characteristics that resonate with you. Like, do you play an instrument, Janine? Are you a musician at all?
I used to play the clarinet, but it's been some years.
That's perfect. Well, you know how so you grab one of your favorite, Dijonette, was a great, right, clarinet player. Yeah. So you grab some of these, the artisans that are the inspiration for you, whether it's Eddie Van Halen or whether it's, Eddie Vedder on a vocal thing or playing ukulele, whatever it is, you grab that piece and you go, okay, I'm gonna just kind of embed myself into that person, and I'm gonna model their personality for a period, and I'm gonna grab the pieces that are valuable to actually match these. They're flowing into you, like almost like you'll have this nuclear flow into you, cell by cell, and you go, okay, cool. I can do in a karaoke contest. I can do Eddie Vedder if I need to, and so so you grab those pieces, and they become a characteristic that you can take with you, and you can assemble and you can kind of promote that avatar when you're in situations. So, right. And then, so now we do that. That's kind of a psychological trick. Mm-hmm. How do we back up that psychological trick with a neurological enhancement? So that they match. So our neurological performance matches our physical performance or our mood performance, or as Matt likes to say, Matt Gallant, our CEO and my good partner, one of two, one of a bunch actually now, but Matt and Wade are all about let's take that avatar and let's get into state performance. What state do I need to stay, to get into to accomplish this task or this series of tasks? Or like Wade right now is training to be, he's going to do the Ironman bodybuilding competition in Venice Beach. Cool. At 50, right?
Nice.
He's already a 3-time champion. He's going to go for number 4. And, all natural, right? Vegetarian, just incredible. And so to do that, you have to get into a state of high performance. You have to get into a state of being okay with the pain. You have to be a state of understanding the training and isolating the muscles and thinking through each press. So you're doing it with, with conviction and with intent. So I think that applies to everything we do, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the cool part about Nootopia, I was looking, obviously I'm on day 9. I'm like, okay, 30 days is super fast to figure out what's going to work for you. Of course, I'm on day 9. I'm like, oh, I want to know what's going to help me, think in this moment to develop this project and get that done. And then I want to switch my stack for when I want to be chill. And then I want to, so it makes sense for kind of looking at what you want to be in any given moment and then being able to use it versus having to do, these supplements that are day in, day out that just help with low level brain function. So I like the ability and the flexibility, like you were mentioning, based on where you were headed with life, whether you're training for an Ironman, which would be awesome. I'm more in the category of recovering marathon addict. So I'm trying to figure out my space in between there. This week, I've been a champion paddleboarder on my own competition. So, it just really means where you're at in life, right? And what you need.
I love it. Have you gotten past the point of paddling out and then getting on the board and not falling off as you're trying to figure out how to balance?
Oh, yeah. We have dogs. And so our biggest thing is balancing the dogs on there, getting them to stay on the board, and being able to throw the ball while we're on the board. Yesterday, I was doing banded squats on the board and banded push-ups just to see how that would go, just for fun. And so far, so good. So I'm like, all right, I'm getting there. Much better than first day I got on, that's for sure.
Have you seen the new foil boards, the ones that have an airfoil or a water foil underneath them? And you hop on at speed and then you're just pumping it to try to keep up.
It's so crazy. I've not tried them. Have you?
I haven't tried them yet. No. I have been in the Pacific Ocean on a paddleboard and having a blast. And there's an interesting confidence thing that happened. I think that's part of it. So you talk about state optimization. Is when I first got on, I was just sloppy. I've never surfed, so I don't have that background. I'm a West Coast kid, but I'm the Pacific Northwest kind. That I know more about rain than I do about sun. And so I'm on the paddleboard and I'm going out and I've got a couple of people that are hanging around that are good friends that are just going, encouraging and everything. And I'm a pretty dynamic, ambitious, like, let's go make this shit happen. Right. And so, but the cool part was once I realized that all I needed to do was to embed the confidence of a seasoned paddleboarder. I saw a couple out there. They really knew it, right? They knew how to, they knew how to shift the weight and all that stuff. And I started looking at it as a dance. And then I started looking at the paddle as a balance, like if I was a tightrope walker.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it became really simple and really fun. And my energy level went up, my commitment to it went up, and my smile went huge. So awesome. Yeah. State. And, you mentioned something about the Nootopia stuff. One of the things that, this has not been a fast journey. This started in 2008.
Wow.
So yeah. And when I owned a software company doing brainstorming software. I was partners with the founder of Century 21 Real Estate. And so I had a bunch of smart people that I could send samples of weird tasting powders to and say, try this and see how it works for you. And what I found in the end was that if you don't customize, if you don't personalize these specific neurochemicals, you can get, depending on what it is, you can get anywhere from a 28 to about a 42% success rate, meaning that, about a third of the people that took it were thumbs up, this is awesome. But then there was another third, or over a third, that said, I'm neutral. I can tell that it's got some nutrients and vitamins in it, but it's not doing the thing, the promised outcome. It's not I'm not turning into Bradley Cooper. What's my problem? And then, right?
Limitless, guys. Limitless.
Yeah.
You gotta see that movie if you have not. You should pair the Nootopia brain sticks with it.
Well, this is kind of funny. When I started the company, in at the end of 2011, actually January 15th, 2012. But I'm sending these samples to all these guys, right? And I'm starting to get them customized now. So now I'm customized and I'm getting a 92 to 97% accuracy. So, once we've been through 3 or 4 rounds, about 90 days, I could nail them because they're weight, height, age, sex, hormone imbalances, their DNA test, their eating habits, their caffeine habits, their whatever meds they're on or whatever. That started to come into play. And I said, I've seen enough of these now. I can do a little bit of pattern recognition. And if I do this tweak to this formula, it'll get me a much more predictable output for this individual. And so that was like a trick, right? So
cool.
So the movie comes out in about 4 months before I finished the last formula, the one that became our first, the first formula, which is Nectar X now. And and I sent it to all these guys. I had a little over 1,000 people on my beta test, and I sent it to them, and they came back with, I said, I don't know what to name this. I don't know what to do. And they said, hey, dude, that's just like that thing in that movie, Limitless. I hadn't seen the movie yet. So oh, maybe I should do that. So I watched it. And then I called a good friend of mine who's an absolute genius branding guy and had been a business partner for many years. And I said, what do I do with this? And he gives a quick USPTO, looks it up, and he goes, there's no trademark on NCT. I would grab it.
Wow.
So it was great. And so that's how we started. And and it was, but the customization and personalization are a critical factor in optimization of your physiology and state. So it's not just throwing stuff at you for 90 days and you change. You will change, but you'll get better. And we'll do our customization every order. So our product gets better for you as far as more aligned with who you are, more aligned with your goals, more aligned with your physiology and neurology. And even to radical, we do some radical stuff. So.
That's really cool. Let's talk about it a little bit, because I think folks might be going like, all right, what's happening here? So at the beginning, if you guys had the visual portion of this podcast, you saw that both Mark and I were holding black boxes, which I find that it's hilarious that it's a black box, because it makes me think about airplane black boxes and all the information. I don't know if that's what you're going for. And then you get this box, guys, and you've got all of these little packets in there, which are extremely exciting, because you're like, ooh, it's like my own little science kit here. And, obviously this is 30 days to figure out your optimal formula. And what these guys do is they do a survey at the beginning, and you literally go through and you give them all kinds of information about yourself and how your brain works and lifestyle, et cetera. And then when you get this, you have an app that you can get from your phone, and every day you can put in your information as to whether something worked and the little, details. Now, Mark is putting the spray in his mouth, which I want to talk about. I do not want to forget about the Xamarin juice, because that one, so far, my favorites, yes, the Nectar X had me on fire to the point that I annoyed one of my business partners about more like 4 ideas that I was like, hey, I've been thinking about this. Could we do this, 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 and this? And so that one, and I know this, you said this is since when did you come up with this one? This was the oldest.
2011, but 2012 was when we first opened that up to the market. Yeah.
Okay. So that one's like the longer standing, and it's what you guys start with, which is really cool. And so today I want to talk about, and that's a powder, guys. And a lot of people have seen the powder style things, but my curiosity is, with customization, do you add to Nectar X, or do you keep that as the base and you give people another, say, powder based on, or other capsules based on the?
No,
how's it work?
No, that's a great question. I love that question, because it really is the fabric of what we do here. What we did is we started with these 27 different components. Okay. And what I discovered over time, is that if you just give people a nootropic, like aniracetam or oxiracetam or one of those classical research chemicals or something like that, they're going to get a certain kind of output, an outcome that's going to happen, but it's going to be very, very short-lived. Mm-hmm. And it might, depending on who you are, it could be too radical or not performing enough. Mm-hmm. So I started looking at holistically and saying, what are the things that keep people from performing? Like, what was the thing that kept me from performing? I worked in the dark, mm-hmm. right? I sat down all day to work. Yep. I worked in front of a monitor. Mm-hmm. I quit doing triathlete, duathlete, biathlete, weightlifting, bodybuilding stuff, and bicycling every day. All of these things that were the things that we kind of take for granted because they're part of our life. We've kind of built them into our life. I was in the Air Force for 6 years in Central California, and I had a really nice Bianchi bike called Celeste Blue. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful robin's egg blue bike that Bianchi is known for. And I would ride it to and from the base, and I would just stay at 30 miles an hour plus. My whole thing was off the saddle, 30 miles an hour, 5 miles. Let's do this thing. Blasting through stop signs, doesn't matter, man. 30 miles an hour plus. That was my goal. And so you do that. Well, and I would ride back from lunch, right? Or back to lunch at my home. And then I would go back to the base and I would come back at night. And then I would go hit the gym. And then I would go run 4 or 5 miles. And then, and then I'd go hang out with friends and do this stuff. Well, that was like my baseline level of activity. Plus, I was an active person, and my jobs in the military were very active. And so you kind of go, oh wow, I'm always thin, I'm always fit, I'm always muscular, I'm always sharp, and then suddenly you go, oh, I'm sitting in the dark in front of a monitor, and I'm doing a lot of really tough cognitive work, and why do I feel like crap? And then I'm eating my nachos. I'm going to when you do startup companies, is you basically get a building as close as possible to the cheapest buffet dining experience happy hour that you can. So it's literally part of the business plan is we eat for $4 a night,
Oh my
and
God.
all you can eat. Yeah. So, and it's not that beer's not good fuel, but it has some side effects.
Yeah.
So when you have those performance criteria, where the hell are we going with this, Janine? Where were we going with this?
We're going on how you stack things, how we put how you go on customizing things.
I'm sorry.
You need more of that juice there.
I was hyper visualized on Atwater, California, and my Bianchi, and I'm going, God, I really miss my bike. I need that bike again. I got to get rid of my mountain bike. Okay, so the thing is I'm going, okay, so your body is under stress, right? So what if you added a layer of adaptogens to it so that your body can handle stress better? You're not getting these big adrenal rushes that are happening every time something happens that is outside your control. Instead, you're going, oh, okay, that's something we should address, right? So let's temper your adrenal output issues. And then let's go, what about oxidative stress? Great, let's put a stack of hyper effective antioxidants. So now our body's not dealing with oxidative stress as much, right? So now what we've done is we've raised our baseline performance level. What's next? Well, let's make sure you've got some really good B vitamins in there, because B vitamins are actually more enzymatic activity vitamins that are going to work, and they're going to pass the blood-brain barrier, going to be very effective at helping to kind of make processes happen. And they're also going to reinforce, gut flora and the rest of it. And then you start talking about what is the nootropic components, or what are the nootropic components that are going to get your neurological performance to happen? Like which of the neurochemicals, whether it's dopamine or serotonin or GABA or anandamide, right? Or noradrenaline or adrenaline, what are the ones that you're going to need to have in what kind of a pattern? Like which one is dominant, what's subdominant, what's, like what's repressed, so that you can get this performance outcome you're looking for. And then you build the stack, the nootropic component of it for that. But then there's another thing that happens is your brain is going to be basically accelerated. You're going to be clocking your brain or overclocking your brain, like a microprocessor in a computer, right? To make it go faster, you throw the clock up to double speed, and suddenly you're going at 40 gigahertz instead of 20 gigahertz. So to do that, when that happens, or actually more like two, but to do that, you're going to use up more acetylcholine in your brain. So you need a thing called a choline donor. Otherwise, what'll happen is it'll start sucking choline out of your muscle tissue, and out of the components, the amino acids that are sitting at the base of your muscle, and that's going to give you a headache. And so you want to have a thing called a choline donor. Well, during this processing, with all of these things happening, they're going through the blood-brain barrier. You got enzymes working. You got your gut producing serotonin, and then you got the vagus nerve saying to the brain, "Hey, we're ready for more serotonin. Let's go do this thing." So when that's happening, your system is suddenly going boom, like when you turn on a window air conditioner, right, in an old house, and the lights dim for a second and they come back up. The same thing happens when the enzymatic activity is happening in your brain for a moment. And that moment is 15, 20 minutes, maybe, or maybe 5 minutes, depending on what you're doing. Like, I'm on Power Solution right now. Power Solution has a much shorter, because it's instantaneous uptake, because of its liquid form. So you need to cover that. To cover that, we do a stack of different stims in various ratios that don't hyperstimulate you. It's not like throwing a bunch of caffeine at you. They basically cover the area where your brain is going boom, and it's suddenly sucking more caloric energy, right? More glucose out, and activating the glucose because your brain eats it. It loves glucose. It lives on glucose. So you want to build a stack like that. So you've got these multiple layers of different components, and in the customization, we're going, okay, I'm 60 years old. I work out 5 days a week for 30 minutes on average, and I lift weights versus cardiovascular activity. I'm cyclical keto, but I have a nearly vegetarian diet for most of the time. I drink a lot of fluids, but I forget to take, to do a lot of amino acid injection with that, or salts, right? Yeah. So I'm salt deficient, and so I got to remember that. All these components go into our customization profile so that when you get this and you either pour it into your drink or take your capsule or do your spray, it's got a balance of all those matched to your physiology and your neurology. And that makes a big difference. So
wow.
That's why.
That is so cool. So right now, folks' minds might be really blown. And I think it's a great time to take a little pause so we can have a word from our sponsors. So let's head into that. We'll take a quick pause and we will return with more mind-blowing information. One of the best things you can do to improve your health is get at least 7 hours of quality sleep every single night. I know, it's hard to get that much sleep. Your mind keeps you awake, you're thinking about things, you get uncomfortable, you wake up early, and you just can't fall asleep again. There are hundreds of reasons why you can't get 7 hours of quality sleep every single night, and I've probably at least told you 100. But hey, listen, it's super important because your body heals itself when you sleep. And if you're not getting enough quality sleep, you're increasing your risk of disease and making it harder to lose weight. Yes, weight. Would you like to know an easy way to get more quality sleep every night? Make sure you're getting enough magnesium. Believe it or not, around 75% of people don't have enough of it, which helps explain why so many people have sleep problems. Unfortunately, most magnesium supplements are not full spectrum, so they won't fix your magnesium deficiency or help you sleep better. There are actually 7 unique forms of magnesium, and you must get all of them if you want to experience its calming, sleep-enhancing effects. That's why I recommend Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers. Simply take 2 capsules before you go to bed, and you will be amazed by how much better you sleep and how much more rested you feel when you wake up. For an exclusive offer for my listeners of the Health Fix podcast, you guys want to go over to www.magbreakthrough.com/healthfix. And you can save up to 42%. Yes, that's right. 42% savings on Magnesium Breakthrough when you go to www.magbreakthrough.com/healthfix. And we're back, folks. And so I've been dying pretty much the whole podcast to ask about, this is brain flow right here. And if you guys are watching this, it is a double capsule situation here. And it smells like turmeric and ginger, just like sniffing it when you smell it. And I was like, interesting. It's like spices in an oil in a capsule. So it's my time to take this. I'm going to take it. Mr. Newts, tell us what this magical thing is all about.
Hey, I'm gonna join you, Janine. Come on.
Awesome. All right. We got to do a half hour because this is supposed to kick in within a half hour. So we might have to talk for a half hour more so we can we're both like, we're doing great. It's great. It's great.
It was great. What's so funny is we talk about Matt and I are on a number of podcasts. We just got done with Dave Asprey last week.
Fun.
And yeah, it was a blast. And it was the thing is like, what do you take? Like when Matt and I have calls every week, multiple calls every week. And what we'll do is, okay, what do you want, man? Like, you know what I mean? We sound like your local dealer. Hey, what do you want, man? And okay, I'm on brain flow. I got a little bit of Xamarin going and I'm about to take an upbeat. So it's great. All right. So what was the question? Did you have a question? Oh yeah. What's a capsule and capsule? All right. So here's the deal. So I'm building capsules. And if you get a chance, you can, if our viewers can see this, if our listeners can see this, you'll see that all of our caps are multi-layered. They've got multiple layers to them, and that wasn't intentionally cosmetic. It just happens to come out that way. And we do think that it's nice to have beautiful stuff around. It was because one of the things your brain or nootropics need to operate most effectively is oil. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't mean you can't do a pure water-based nootropic stack. The challenge is the half-life of the water-based nootropic stack is typically pretty quick. So it's gonna have a very short rise and fall, typically. And whereas most oil-based are going to have, most oil-based are going to have a much more extended effect. The other thing is oils are great carriers to get through the blood-brain barrier. Rhonda Patrick recently, we were at the Metabolic Health Summit in Santa Barbara a month or so ago, and she was talking about inflammatory characteristics. And we try to build a very much a anti-inflammatory stack in everything we do, because inflammation is one of the big fighters that we're all faced with every day. And she was talking about how the gut and the blood-brain barrier are almost parallels in how they're designed. Mm-hmm. And they have these key locks that are spaced out within the gut lining. And under inflammation, now normally what they do is they slide open very accurately to let certain molecules through, and then they close. But under inflammation makes them open like this. And suddenly all kinds of toxins are coming through and all kinds of other stuff. So it's really important, the anti-inflammatory characteristics. Well, the oils that we use are inherently anti-inflammatory, but on top of that, they also guide the nootropics. They bind to the nootropics and carry them through the blood-brain barrier, and then extend the half-life of them in the brain. Remember, the brain's made of, it's primarily, right, DHA, and so it's an oil foundry up here. Mm-hmm. So what we did was originally what we did is we started combining oils with our powder stacks and using that in one capsule, because when I originally started making these, you would take a handful of oils and then some powder, and then eventually a handful of oils and a handful of capsules. And then eventually I said, this is not the kind of thing that consumers are going to be excited about. And we're probably not going to change the world if you're carrying around pockets full of stuff, and it's going to be really hard to get through TSA.
Yeah.
So, right. Flights are not going to be fun. So what I did was started doing that. Well, that led to, as we were getting better and better and better at our extraction technologies and figuring out how to make what would normally be grams of these nootropic compounds or extracts, these vegetable extracts or seed extracts or whatever. As we started getting better and better at that, we could start making them into where we could get 100 milligrams of this and 50 milligrams of this and 20 milligrams of this together would act like 5 grams of Y. And so that led to, could we do the same thing with oil extracts? And so we made that. And so what you have there, and here's a cool thing. The other side of that is the whole GI tract, of which Bioptimizers, our parent company, is like, that's their mastery, right? Mm-hmm. Is gut health. Mm-hmm. And so in doing that, we kind of inadvertently ran into this. If we could get the acidic part of the gut to dissolve the oil portion of the capsule, but not dissolve the inner portion, the powder portion of the capsule, then the oil would get into the bloodstream and start getting distribution. Then if past the duodenum, where the pH of the gut goes from like a 2.7, 3.7, 4.5 to a 6.5, 6.7, 7.2, right? Different pH, a more base pH. Mm-hmm. And we could make the powder start to distribute at that level. It would give you this incredible ability to slowly feed through your gut wall, right? Soul in the gut, feed that powder into the bloodstream as they dissolve with the right enzymes, with the right microbiome. You could get these very select activity, and then it would match with the oil, go through the blood-brain barrier, and you would get a dramatically amplified effect in a little tiny capsule.
That's so cool.
So there you go, man.
Wow. Now
My
we know.
secret's out.
No, it's super genius. And I mean, just looking at it, I was like, wow, one, yes, it looks like you're doing it for aesthetic appearance, but I knew there had to be a method to the madness in there. So let's talk about the spray for a minute, because I think it's important for folks to hear about the Xamarin Juice spray and how that is made, why it's made this way, and what it gets going for you on that one. And then we're going to College Genius, 1-800 College Genius, as we were joking with before. So let's talk about the juice for a second here. I like this spray. Actually, it was one of the things that I found pretty useful, and it seems like within the moment right there.
Exactly. It was developed. I developed it for a customer who came to us, and she owned medical emergency care clinics in the Pacific Northwest. So she was constantly driving around and if you've ever been in Portland, Oregon traffic, it's not a pretty scene. No. It's very much like Silicon Valley or LA. So you get a 15-minute, window, like between 2:30 and 2:45, where there's not a ton of traffic and you can maybe get somewhere. And then the rest of it is messed up. And if you're not a diamond lane, you don't have an inflatable dummy next to you, then you're screwed. So she said there was this movie called Falling Down that Michael Douglas was in, where he was stuck on the 405, I think, or maybe I think it was LA, and he it was just a parking lot, and he got out of the car. He finally said he was a geek with with glasses with tape on them and a pocket protector, but he just got fed up with life and he just started beating people. And so she didn't want to become that person, and she was getting there really quickly. Yeah. So I developed Xamarin Juice as a way, and I got to tell you about the name too.
Yes.
So I developed it as a way to get rid of road rage instantaneously before it ever reached a peak, and to restore your GABA receptor activity so that you felt cool, chill. All you wanted to do was turn on Dave Brubeck and then listen to Take Five over and over and over, or Olivia Dean, and just go into a groove, a jazz groove. Whatever it was that allowed you to do it. And so that's kind of how, it's inception, right? It's origin story. But Matt and Wade, when they founded Bioptimizers, they were pretty hardcore athletes, and they could party as hard as they worked out. And so during those early days, Matt has been sober for 13 years now, and he's a great example of a badass he's sober, but you'd never know it by his actions, because he's crazy and wild and cool, and Wade's the same way. So Xamarin Juice was what they used to say when they were out partying. They said, "I'm in the Xamarin zone." When they, right? If they were at a club in Vancouver, BC, they'd be, "Yeah, I'm in the Xamarin zone." So when Matt and I were going through all of the products that I designed, and he said, "Hey, what's this do and how do I do it?" And Wade left my office before we merged a couple of years ago. Wade left my office with a box of them. He's driving to Seattle after doing 40 Years of Zen with Dave Asprey, and he's doing these things. And he's calling Matt, and he's going, "Dude, this guy's got some cool stuff." Oh yeah, so that's how that came out.
That is their juice. Nice.
Sublingual is important, right? So if you want instantaneous results, you'll notice that we have a morning product, right? Our mental reboot for the morning.
Yes. Yes.
And that's a capsule. You tap it, you pull it apart, and you pour it under your, you spill some on you, and then you pull some, you pour it under your tongue, and it dissolves and it tastes good and everything. But it's really important to know, like, when do I need to perform, and how long is it going to take me to get there when I'm trying to get into a certain state? So certain things instantaneous, certain things 30, 40, 50 minutes, certain things 5, 10, So what is it, and how long is it going to take to help me achieve that performance level, so that I'm not waiting, I'm not disappointed,
right?
And I can time it right. Like, am I getting on stage and I need to be a rock star, or do I need to be in deep focus for 4, 5, 6, 8 hours? Do I need to be in deep focus, but I need to work with my employees and not blow them out? Right?
I like that. Yes. It makes sense. It makes sense to be thinking about, like, what do I need? How long is it going to take? And what's the end goal here? I think everybody in the Pacific Northwest needs this in their car, because my practice is in Tacoma, Washington, and I do fly back and forth to see patients. And I lived in Tacoma for almost 10 years. And actually, I think I've lived in the Pacific Northwest more of my life than I actually lived in the Midwest over the years. And the traffic, my God.
Yeah. It is. And I live in Burlington, Iowa now. It's a town of about 30,000, right on the Mississippi. It's a beautiful little town. but it's the same thing. We have this beautiful, it's called the Great Bridge. It's a fairly modern bridge, right? A big cable form bridge, and it's gorgeous. And so to try to lure my employees from Vancouver, Washington over here, I take a video of our bridge during rush hour, and there's like 4 cars in 15 minutes, right?
Like,
oh yeah. Ooh, lust. It's like
yes, I mean, it's glorious. It is glorious not seeing a parking lot for sure. Now, you were talking earlier about inflammation, Rhonda Patrick's presentation about blood-brain barrier, gut-brain barrier, and you have a product called Collagenous. And a lot of people think about collagen as something that links up the gut lining. It's kind of like this ubiquitous thing that helps with leaky gut or intestinal permeability, call it what you want. So tell us a little bit about that, because I've not had a chance to try it yet, folks. So by the time this podcast comes out, I will have tried it. So there it is there for you. Tell us a little bit about it.
I love it. So this was developed actually by my partner in crime, Chastity. She is both my lab assistant and my life assistant, partner in crime. She's awesome. And she's also a 5-star chef and incredible plating menus and things like that. So she's incredible. She's got a great palate. And I was building these super concentrated nootropic caps made of mushrooms for myself and my clients, and for Matt. Matt's a huge fan of lion's mane as a way to reboot the brain and just basically raise a baseline and do a thing called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Which is basically set up the basis for neurogenesis and the creation of new brain cells, so that you can start like reprogramming the brain. And it's also super effective in helping to counter the neural pathways we build via trauma, right? So people that have been through traumatic states in their lives, they often reinforce that traumatic state every time they think about it, right? They go into this state of like there's a scene in, never mind, I won't go into it. I have these movie references. What's going on? But there's a scene in Throw Mama from the Train where Billy Crystal is just really, really, really mad at his ex-wife who just stole his book. And every time he thinks about her, he just goes into a rage, right? He turns into the Green Hulk. And it's that same thing. And so we're reinforcing those neural pathways. Well, what if you created brand new blooms of neurons and then thought about something really great, your current life, right? Your abundance you have, the happiness we have, right? The friends that are, and our loved ones. And just the fact that we're thriving in spite of the fact that the world is burning around us. And so the thing with BDNF and neurogenesis is you can create these new blooms of neurons, and then you can go think happy thoughts or read really interesting stuff, and you can program those neural pathways to operate better, operate differently, to no longer be affected by that. And there's other stuff like EFT, emotional freedom technique, and some of those things that can be enhanced with those stuff. So here's the deal. So we're taking these mushrooms as we're extracting them, we're starting with 1-to-1 mushroom extract, and then going to 1-to-20, and then 1-to-50, and then 1-to-100. And as we got closer and closer to 50 and 100, we found that red reishi and chaga and lion's mane, right, and cordyceps, they started taking on chocolatey notes. If you had the fruiting bodies of those, and you start extracting them at these different levels to get just the most effective molecules of each of them out. Yeah. If you smelled it, they smelled like that. Well, Chastity is dumping them into tubs and marking them and putting on the labels and dating them and, doing all that. And here's the vendor, and here's the, MDSC, the safety sheet, and here's the, the research data on it and all that, and putting those together for me. And she's going, this tastes a lot, or smells a lot like chocolate. She dips her finger in, goes, it tastes like chocolate. Maybe it is chocolate. And so we started doing research on it. We do third-party testing to make sure that it's the best quality of mushroom possible. Sure. And there's no weird excipients, or it's not a lot of mushrooms are grown, and the mycelium, the grow fabric of them, a lot of companies just kind of put it all in one, grind it up, and send it to you. So you're getting about 20% mushroom and a whole bunch of sawdust. And we're 100% mushroom fruiting bodies and the extracted molecules of them. So in doing that, she just found the chocolate. And so it turned into that. Well, she's going, well, gosh, she just turned 50. I just turned 60. We don't want to look old. Us Pacific Northwesters, right? we have an advantage. And you know the Midwest now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
When you go to a Hy-Vee, you've got old farmers, right?
It's a grocery store, folks, by the way.
Yeah. It's kind of the Midwest grocery store chain. And so it's like the equivalent of Fred Meyer's on the West Coast or Kroger, on the East. And you have these folks that are my age, 60 years old, and they're leaning over their shopping cart. They can't stand upright. They're fighting their own, inertia, trying to get down the aisles with packaged food. It's so funny that the organic aisle at the grocery store, and this grocery store is as big as any Kroger, anything else. And the organic aisle is the size of my desk. And so, right. So it's a real pain. So we're going, okay, well, one of the most valuable components of that we could use for that, right, would be collagen. So collagen is this incredible protein made of amino acids that essentially just absorbs into your skin and becomes the fabric for all of the things that make plump lips and get rid of wrinkles and all that. But it's also a lubricant for the brain. It becomes this incredible amino acid substrate for the brain so that the brain can grow better, right? Because you've got white and gray matter, and it's really important to understand that. And the other thing is it reinforces the myelin sheath around the nerves so that the nerves don't short out. When you see people that are having trouble recalling things or having memory lapse, those kinds of things, a lot of times the myelin sheath has started to short because we're not eating well, or we've got some kind of deficiency somewhere. We're not pushing it. We're not exercising and those things. So that's what came about. And so here's the cool thing. That wasn't even the cool thing. The cool thing is it is deliciously chocolate in its own right. Like, we didn't flavor it with chocolate. Wow. We added cacao. We added some cacao, some Peruvian cacao and some other cacao, because the antioxidant nature of that is 50x what we could do with, say, a vitamin C or something like that, right? A citric acid or something. And it had just so happens to add richness to it. Wow. And everything we added is a functional ingredient. There's no non-functional ingredients in it. It tastes deliciously chocolate. The collagen is incredible. And here's the cool part. I know, I warmed you up, right? Is even though it says in the marketing and stuff, just because we're conservative, it says you get 1.2 pounds of mushroom extract per dose. It's actually more like 1.485 pounds of mushroom extract. So instead of having, like, we looked at all, like we don't want to introduce or come out with anything that's a Me Too product. We want to be best in class, and if possible, first in class, but definitely best in class. So we looked at after we developed this, we looked at the products out there, and we go, gosh, most of the mushroom drinks and products that are out there that are popular are the equivalent of 500 milligrams to about 1.5 grams of mushroom extract. And again, so we're 1.5 pounds of mushroom extract. And so the amount of restorative nature of this, right? The adaptogen stuff, the antioxidant stuff, the neurogenesis stuff, the BDNF, a bunch of other factors. And plus, mushrooms are known to be anti-tumor. Yeah. So, and these specific mushrooms are the most powerful anti-tumor catalysts in the world. So you've got this incredible brain system, body system, skin system, bone system, joint repair is incredible with this. And so it basically brings your baseline up. So your baseline operating system, your OS, the thing that you're living every day, every morning when you wake up. I can't ask how old you are, Janine. It's not polite, but every morning when you wake up, right? As you get older, you start facing it. I said, Dad, what do you hate the worst? When my dad was 70, I said, Dad, what's the most frustrating thing? And he goes, I hate the fact that I hurt, because my dad was an athlete when he was alive, right? So he goes, he played tennis, and he played racquetball, and he played pickleball, and he golfed, and he was hardcore. My dad was hardcore. And I don't know if I've got the poster here close. There's a poster of my dad as a boxer when he was young. Oh, this is not him, but he was a lot like this,
Nice. Superman and of sorts. That's not Superman, but
that's a Flash. That's the Flash. That's Barry from the Flash. So, but he goes, damn it. He goes, I hurt so much. I hate the fact that I've got to like warm up slow in the morning because he's used to hopping out of bed at 5:30. He was a monk many years ago. He was a Trappist monk when he was 15 to 18, then became a Gold Gloves boxer and then a baseball player, and then got into tennis. So he said, but this takes care of that. And I can guarantee you, I'm a body weight exercise guy that does enough weights to be dangerous. And it has been so restorative for me, both in the brain as raising my baseline cognitive performance, and as well, and then the nootropics, right? Anything I do from Nootopia. By the way, here's your coming packaging.
Nice.
So this will be the future. So
wow.
soon you'll be getting your in about 2 months. You'll be getting your nootropics in these cool magnetic containers that you can take with you. But having something that brings your baseline up and does a lot of restorative stuff and gets rid of anxiety and also helps is anti-tumor. So super, super important. And it tastes great, man. Mm-hmm. I have it as a mocha in my coffee, and then I have it in the evening as a cold chocolate drink. And occasionally Chastity will make it into a cold chocolate martini.
Ooh,
and so, wow. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Now you've just said something that a lot of people might be like, well, I'll take my supplements then.
There's nothing better than taking your supplements with Tito's vodka. Tito's.
And handmade and good for you as well. Hey, whatever works if you're going to get them in. Granted, I'm not a proponent of everyday alcohol, but hey, if it's a bonus and it's going to help you a little bit, it's going to help prevent that gut lining from getting too trashed. Might as well, do a 2-for-1 there and see how it goes. That's
right.
What the heck? Oh my goodness. Gosh, Mark, this has been fun. We have learned so much. I've got to sit down and review all of the notes for this one, folks. So I'll do highlights at drjkrausnd.com for sure. So Mr. Newts, AKA Mark, tell us, where can folks find the nootropics? Where can folks find College Genius and Bioptimizer's products? Give us the scoop and
I love it.
Go from there.
I love it. So Bioptimizers, which is kind of our parent company, not kind of, it actually is one of the leaders in gut health and performance. And we've got an incredible board of advisors. You can take a look on the website, and that's at bioptimizers.com, not BUI, but BI, right? Our whole thing is, our goal as a company is to provide biological optimization to every life possible that we can touch. So that's our deal, right? Cool. And then our goal for Nootopia, which is our nootropics division, which is the one that I'm partners in, is basically to go help everybody go from sick to superhuman. So cool. If we can help people move from sick to superhuman and do it, because it's a stage, it's a process, and we teach it. It's amazing how often people are satisfied with their neurological and physiological performance because they don't know better. Mm-hmm. And there's to know what's right and not to do it is kind of a sin. I mean, not that I'm a big, kind of, but it's pretty important. So to get to Nootopia, go to nootopia.com and come and join us. And there's a discount coupon that Janine is providing for you as well. The Dr. Kraus discount coupon, yo.
Yes. Yes. We will have that. It'll be all over IG, but also, guys, we'll have it for you. So thanks again for coming on and geeking out with me. I look forward to seeing more great things from you guys as time goes on, because I can only imagine what else is in that brain of yours.
We'll party.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, if you are loving the concept of getting hold of a brilliant mind blueprint, checking out Nootopia's products, looking at Magnesium Breakthrough, or even College Genius, what you want to do to get a 10% off from the Health Fix is go to nootopia.com/Health Fix Genius. That'll help you get a discount on College Genius, also on the Nootopia that we talked about, the College Genius that we talked about at the end of this podcast, and the Magnesium Breakthrough. So go get your discount now. Try this stuff out. I can't say enough. It's pretty awesome stuff. So check it out.